It's my pleasure tonight to welcome Marc from Sidwalk Beer Shop to Beers with Bill. Marc, welcome.
Thank you.
Want to talk a little bit first about the Godspeed, or do you want to talk about Sidewalk to start with?
Doesn't doesn't matter to me. I mean, I'm sure everyone wants to at least start drinking, so maybe we'll just get going with the beer first. So the first beer that I picked for the little 4-pack, for those of you that came by to grab one, is from Godspeed. So they're a East End Toronto brewery. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, and they just make like super tasty, clean, easy drinking beers. A lot of like traditional Czech style lagers, and so this one is like a 1.5% alcohol Czech pale lager, which to me is very flavorful, given that it's such a low alcohol beer. And this pick was sort of inspired by the last time I came on to an episode of Beers with Bill, which was to watch the guys from Third Moon talking. And I ended up drinking a little too much. I felt rough the next day, so I figured I'd start us off with a little 1.5%er in hopes that my day tomorrow is a little bit better than it was last time.
I can appreciate that. So tell me, Marc, how do you decide which microbrew to feature in your beer shop?
It's a good question. It's getting sort of increasingly difficult, I find, as we get busier, and I'm trying to sort of diversify what we have. But ultimately, a lot of the selection is just from breweries that I know and trust and have worked with for years, and are putting out what I feel to be consistently delicious, quality products. I do try and keep in mind like a diversity in style, but also have noticed like which styles are the most popular, and then you know, you'll see the most of that.
Okay. So Sidewalk is kind of a longtime dream of yours to have a beer shop, and a sort of an 8-month reality now. How's it feel?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, so for those that might not know, like I've owned a little cafe in Uptown Waterloo for the last almost 11 years now, called the Princess Cafe. And I always tried to curate like a very thoughtful and good beer selection. But the problem was that people never really knew us as a destination for good beer. You know, there was a handful of people who would come in and appreciate the kind of stuff I was bringing in, but it never really like took off how I wanted it to. So yeah, when the government said that restaurants could sell alcohol to go, I just kind of saw that as an opportunity to really lean into it and just kind of go full steam, put some new branding on it. And for anyone who's been by the shop, you kind of know the vibe, or like what it's all about, which is basically just a window that slides open right onto the street. And behind me are fridges full of beer, a little chalkboard with a list out front, and you just kind of holler your picks at me and I pull them out of the fridge for you. So it's yeah, I'm very happy that I've been given the opportunity to do what I'm doing now.
You know, there's the romance of being a business owner in the world of beer. And then there's the reality of the long hours, hard work, the low return that happens in the beer industry. What's it been like for you for the last 14 months?
Well, I guess when the pandemic first hit, I closed down the restaurant. I didn't work at all. I did like a few little pop-ups here and there where I put together like mixed 6-packs. I did like a Toronto 6-pack and a local 6-pack, and sold off all the stock from the fridge that we had, and just did a few little pop-ups like that, and really didn't do much work for about 2 months. We were closed from the end of March until mid-June, aside from those couple of pop-ups. And that was probably the best time of my life in the past decade. Not thinking about work or going into work every day, just hanging out with my kids and, jumping on the trampoline. And so that was a really nice time. But obviously reality set in that I had to be doing something. So we opened the beer shop in June and have just kind of powered through. I mean, for me, it's like I'm trying to get exciting stuff in the fridge and try and build, like our followers on Instagram. I figure the more people that know about us, the better. And there's still tons of people that have no idea that we exist. So just been trying to build that, and working nonstop. Like I put in like 60-hour work weeks every week since June, between basically working every hour that the shop is open, which is Wednesday to Sunday. And then Monday and Tuesday are technically my days off. But yesterday I spent, 7 hours driving to breweries and bring beer back. And then today I wrote the chalkboard for out front and made a trip into Bellwoods and stuff. So even on my days off, I'm kind of running around working. It's kind of nonstop. So I am very tired a lot of the time.
I can appreciate that. It's having a business is like having a baby, and you've got the whole thing of getting the beer from all over the place.
Yeah.
How do you stay grounded through all of this?
I guess when I think about how I am just like a small business struggling to survive in a pandemic, it's pretty much keeps me grounded. That any day one of my employees could say, "Hey, I have COVID," and what does that mean for us, right? I'd have to close. So I'm sort of like living in constant fear of terrible things happening. So yeah, I don't know. Staying grounded, I think, is like I'm just kind of always thinking about all the bad stuff.
I hear you on that. So I might have the number wrong in my head, but you had like 10 employees at the Princess Cafe.
Yeah.
And you've, I'm assuming, drastically downsized?
Yeah, so I have 4 employees currently. One one girl, Steph, she's basically handling all the food stuff and food prep, and working with me all the time, aside from one day a week when I have like 2 or 3 other people that kind of rotate in. So Steph's our one full-time employee, and she does an amazing job with like the food side of the business, which is also like very important for what we're doing. And then a few like part-time staff, everyone who's been with us for like a few years at least. Like I have very good kind of staff retention, and like people kind of stick around for a while when they come by, which is great. Although some people are leaving at the end of the summer, so I need to figure that out. But if you guys know a chef, let me know.
Oh, those are easy to come by and hard at the same time, aren't they?
Yeah.
So the Princess Cafe used to be date night for Jackie and I, because we literally only had the Monday night off together with me working at kickoff. And you came they became a staple. And I truly appreciate the fact that your staff rarely changed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's I like that about a place, and I don't want to say that we're like a big family or whatever, although that's like what I would hope that everyone would think. But I also don't want to be the old boss being like, we're a big family, and then my staff are like, okay, buddy. Like, so I think people genuinely like working there, and it's a good environment, and I'm always super supportive of what everyone's doing outside of work. And yeah, I think it's just, you want to have a happy crew around you.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that because, like I said, your staff, it reminds me sort of like Ethel's and Kickoff. It doesn't change. It's the same people for, because it is a bit of a family. And like family, there's always going to be that occasional moment of tension. So, Derek's curious if there's plans, if they change the rules more to more of a walk-in style beer shop.
Yeah, I think for me, the way it's working right now is really fun and really great. And I don't need to worry about having to wipe everything down after someone touches it. If people start coming in the shop, then my full-time job becomes wiping things. And I can take care of that when it's just me in there. But so I'm not super keen on that idea at the moment. But I think that the reality is, like, once the weather turns again, the plan would be to have it as a walk-in, like, retail beer shop. So I mean, a little bit of like what I'm picturing is, you can see those fridges I always have behind me when you come up to the window there. Just kind of like line the walls with fridges and, put some little boxes there. You can grab a box and walk around the shop, maybe crack a beer while you're shopping, and just take your time and look things through. You'd be able to order a sandwich or, a coffee, and kind of just go about and fill your own basket, just like you would at a regular beer store. And then, with that, there would be plans for like beer related items that are not beer, glassware, stuff like that. Maybe some merch from various breweries, sort of like maybe more like imports. Right now I focus like solely on Ontario beers, but if we were to open retail, I think like getting in some lambic and mixing it up with some imported stuff would be really fun. And then if you've been inside the cafe before, we have sort of the one space, and then across the lobby we have an additional seating area. It's like a 30-person capacity room. And so I picture that space being, if you order a sandwich and a beer, you can go over there and hang out and eat and drink in there. And then the actual cafe spot would have, a couple of chairs in it, probably up by the window or something, but it wouldn't be like a full-on table kind of situation like it has been historically.
What's your favorite style of beer, Mark?
It's tough. I genuinely enjoy a lot of different styles. I think that like when I feel like I want a beer, most often it's like a lager. Like I'll want something from Godspeed or Tooth and Nail, something clean, something refreshing. I also love like hazy IPAs. I mean, I love slushies, I love fruity sours. So I genuinely am happy to drink most beers, but I think the ones I reach for most often would be lagers.
Okay. What's the next beer we're going to talk about?
The next one I picked out is from Tooth and Nail. So it's a single hopped Keller Pils. You'll notice the theme here is sort of easy drinking beers to get us going, which is what I was just saying I like the most. So it's basically like an unfiltered Pilsner or sort of Italian Pilsner style beer. Tooth and Nail are making really classic styles, Doppelbocks and, American pale ales, Pilsners and stuff like that. Always very true to style and sort of classically refreshing. So I'm a big fan of that. Now this one, Lupo Solitario, they had put one out in the summer last year. And you can see it's a single hopped Keller Pils. This one's a hop called Diamant. And this beer is always brewed in collaboration with BSG, which is like a very large brewing supply company, sort of in Guelph. So it's kind of neat. Ottawa Brewery doing the collaboration with the Guelph Brewing Supply Company, and they just swap out the hop for the different variations of this beer. Orem was like one of my favorite beers of 2020. And so this one, I think the different hop varieties, still super tasty. Yeah, excited for you guys to drink it. Also, these first two are beers that I, may be frowned upon, but I have no problem drinking these straight out of the can. It is actually preferred for me personally.
I get that. I have a question. One of the persons is wondering, is there any indication from the government what types of bottle shops might be able to stay open after COVID's done?
My understanding is that the current model is here to stay. So I think anyone could open a bottle shop, really, as long as you have a space that is licensed and you're providing, currently the stipulation is that you're providing a food item to go along with the beer sale. So I think as long as you have a license in place and you can provide food, you're good to go. There's also, I mean, there are a lot of rules as far as like what beers you can sell. I mean, I can't just call up any brewery and anywhere in the world and be like, send me a case of this. There's lots of rules along like importing and what you can actually sell. So it would be nice to see that loosen up. But yeah, I think pretty much if you want to do it, you're good to go. Hi, Rob. Hi, Kat.
Derek's curious if Tootsie Rolls count as food.
I am sure hoping that they do, because that's what you get with your beer at my shop. Yeah, initially we were like selling, anytime you came to buy a beer from me, I would say, okay, like you need to get a food item too. So we had bags of chips and cookies and apples and bananas. So basically I would tack on like 75 cents to your bill and give you a food item. But I started like really disliking having that conversation with everyone that was coming to the window. So I decided to just include a free snack item that is built into the cost of your purchase, which is a Tootsie Roll that costs me 6 cents. So I think that the laws are kind of dumb. So I'll adhere to it in what I think is an appropriate way. That's what the Tootsie Roll is about.
I hear you. You're sticking to the letter of the law.
That's right. Yeah. If anyone knows if that isn't legal, please tell me now. Anyone? Are we good? Am I good? I'm good, right? Yeah, thank you. Look at all those thumbs up. It's legit. Yeah. Appreciate that.
So we've kind of covered off what's next for Sidewalk, with the dining area off to the side. What's next for Marc?
Well, I guess like for me, like thinking about the near future, it is just kind of like keep on plugging away as I have been. I still feel like the business is in its infancy, and it's new and exciting for me, having had the restaurant for 10 years. Truthfully, like it was starting to, I wasn't like loving going into work all the time, right? So now I'm back in the zone where I'm like just loving what I'm doing. And so I plan to keep doing that. I really want to grow the business. Like I would love to be selling twice as much beer as I am, or, you know, like ultimately I have like, it's very new, it's very young, and there's a lot of people that don't know that we're a thing. So I just want to keep building it, and I think that's going to take a lot of hard work from me. So the plan is to just continue with that and get people to like think about us when they want to go buy a beer, you know?
What's been your biggest challenge because of COVID?
Um, like when our children are being homeschooled and we're trying to run a small business and teach our kids from home simultaneously. My wife does a lot of work for the business as well. And so when we aren't afforded the luxury of our children being at school, things get a lot more challenging. Um, I think that would be the biggest thing. Um, yeah, and then just like having interactions with customers who maybe are sticking their face in the window without a mask on, and I don't know, that's like a little bit unnerving. But I think really, I hate to say it, but the way the pandemic has helped me transform the business has been positive. So really the hardest things are not work related. Um, yeah.
There, you went and answered my next question, which was what's the best thing that came out of COVID so far?
Yeah. Well, just me getting the chance to do this, and it's been especially great because since starting the beer shop, you know, I've really strengthened like a lot of relationships with people and made new ones. Like there's new people that come by all the time, and you know, there's faces here who are people that I didn't know before this all started, and now every time I see them, I'm happy, right? So it's really nice, you know, kind of getting to know people and be a larger part of the community. So yeah, I think for me that's really important.
I'm curious, who did your artwork for Sidewalk?
Um, so it's an old friend of mine. Our logo was designed by um, John Cutt. So you can find him on Instagram, the High Road Design. I have known him for years. I used to work at the Jane Bond. It was my first job ever in Waterloo. Worked there for about 4 years, um, maybe longer. But John and I used to work together, and he used to do all the poster designs for the Starlight. So all their old shows that they would have, John would make the posters. I used to do some independent publishing. I put out a zine, and John contributed art to that occasionally. And so I asked him to do the logo, and I was very lucky that he agreed to it because he's a very busy man. And I don't think if we if we didn't have a past relationship, I probably wouldn't have got it. You know, so I feel lucky. I think it's like a really fun logo. He put Saucony Jazz sneakers on the little beer man, which are shoes that I used to wear all the time when we were working together. So that was a little nod to me. And yeah, I think it's a really fun logo.
It definitely is. That little bit of personal touch there at the end, that's fantastic. That's great that you had that opportunity to work with him on that.
Yeah, and then another local designer friend of mine, John Johnson, he sort of helps me put together all other things. So John Cutt did the logo, but John Johnson, he's like silk screened our t-shirts and, you know, makes stickers for us and stuff. And he plays a large part in sort of us getting things into people's hands. He got these glasses made for us. So yeah, so both John Cutt and John Johnson, big help.
Now, you and I met finally for the first time at Third Moon. You were picking up your collab beer. Are there more collabs in the work?
I would like to do some. I think so. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah.
I
Okay. So
think,
Rob, well, I was looking for approval from Rob over here because we've been talking about doing something together. So I was letting him give me the nod. But yeah, we were talking about making something at Short Finger, which would be very exciting for me. One of my favorite Ontario breweries. And I hope that we all realize how lucky we are to have Short Finger in town. Just like such good beer. Absolutely beautiful. Sorry. Sorry, Rob. And then yeah, I've had I don't know, like so that's one that I'm hoping for sure. And then there may be something else happening, but undetermined at the moment.
well, I'll let you in on a secret. To get Rob to agree, just convince Kat.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, because the first collab I did with Rob, there was a little friction about what we were going to do. And I still remember this. Kat sitting beside him in the bar and just like, Rob, just do it.
Yeah. Yeah, but the one that I got to do with Third Moon was super fun. I dumped an obscene amount of fruit into a tank. So that was cool. And that beer, I mean, Third Moon's been making these slushy style sour beers, very heavily fruited, thick, fruity sours that are, for me, like just so damn tasty. And also for me, as someone who's like selling beer to people, I think they're like a very approachable product for people who don't necessarily like beer. You know, it's like they sound good and they are good. So people who are like, oh, I like fruity stuff. It's like, well, here's the fruitiest beer you could ever have, and then they come back 2 days later and say, I need to buy more of that. You know, so I was really honored to do that with them. It was their first collaboration out of their brewery, so that's it was really very, very cool that they invited me to do that.
Hear you. What's the third beer that we're going to be tasting?
Cherry B from Burdock. I put this one in just to sort of mix up styles a little bit. It's like a sour cherry, sour saison, and so I think the thing that's interesting about this beer is the cherry variety, which gets used a lot by Ontario breweries. Like Burdock and Sonnet Hill specifically really like to work with this particular type of cherry. This is just like a very mellow sour, and it's just like a little crusher, a little like a sunny day fruity sipper. So that's why I put that one in. I also we had Burdock do a pop-up at the bottle shop a few weeks ago, which was really fun. I've been a fan of theirs for a while. You know, speaking about how I enjoy like lighter beers and lagers and stuff like that. Burdock makes a lot of stuff in that vein, and usually I'm on board. So yeah.
I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Who would you say is your role model or influencer in your life?
Oh, geez. That's a very tough question. I don't know. I think I'm inspired by my friends that are doing cool things. When I think of like maybe a role model, I think of like someone who would be like older, kind of like guiding me. I mean, I have great parents, so that's sort of like an obvious answer, but I think I feel that I draw more inspiration from my contemporaries and my friends, right? Like John Johnson, who I was talking about. he's just a guy that, you know, he's doing his own thing, I'm doing my own thing, and we always talk about what that means and what we're doing and checking in on each other. And then you got a guy like Rob over there who's doing his own thing completely his own way, and not like fitting into the idea of what a brewery should be. And you know, even like guys like Bebo over at Third Moon, he's in here. He's a silent little partner over here, but you know, just kind of going against the grain and doing what feels right to you. I kind of feed off that energy from people who are friends of mine, and like always supporting cool stuff that they're doing, and they're giving me good feedback. And I don't know, I think that just having a good crew of people around you is important.
Friends are very important. They're like family.
Yeah.
The family that you get to pick. What's your favorite style of music?
I guess like mostly rap right now. Yeah, I listen to a lot of hip hop, a lot of jazz, just like various musics from around the world. I used to really be into like indie rock and stuff like that, but yeah, right now I'm not really into it. So a lot of like instrumental stuff and old experimental jazz and rap.
You play an instrument?
Yeah, I played in a band for years. I used to play bass guitar in some bands, and that was a really big part of my life for a while. So yeah, yeah. I haven't played in over a decade now. You know, once I became a dad, I kind of stopped playing and started working. Yeah.
Having a family will do that to you sometimes. That's
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
I don't think it has to, right? I know plenty of people who have had kids and have continued doing music, and that's great. For me, it just, you know, bands I was playing in were in Toronto, and so we all kind of had separate things going on, and it just wasn't important enough to me to continue with, right? So if it had been, I would have. Yeah.
Okay. I'm curious if you could spend a day brewing a beer or talking about beer, who would you spend that day with?
Oh, I think it would be a real treat to hang out with Bim at Godspeed and just like soak in his god tier knowledge. I think that like the beers that he makes are insane. They're so good, and I know that he does not compromise on anything, and just like puts out a high quality product that he's like very proud of and works very hard on. And so I think like I would like to just kind of be a fly on the wall, you know, maybe even more than hanging out, like just watch this guy work. I mean, for me, he's doing great stuff, and I'd be very interested in that.
To comment a little bit further up when we were talking about influencers and people, someone mentioned your wife rocks.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah, like, I mean, she is also a large part of the business, right? I mean, she updates the website and you know, does all the like behind the scenes like bookkeeping, all that stuff. I just kind of show up and do what I do, and I couldn't do that. It would all fall apart if it wasn't for her doing everything that she does. So yeah, we make a good team like that, and yeah, she does rock.
Oh, I like this one from Bebo. Marc, You're known for making delicious sandwiches, but you need to settle a debate. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh God, you guys have a few hours to kill right now. We're gonna get into this. Everyone turn your mics on, okay? I want to hear everyone's opinion on this.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna get an opinion going.
A hot dog is not a sandwich.
No sandwich. Let's just see. Yes over here. What do we think?
Hot dog is a hot dog.
It's its own thing.
It's a meal.
Ooh, yeah.
A meal. A sandwich is a meal. Okay, so that's a lot of thumbs down. Okay, I'm with you on that. I think that Bebo's trying to stir the pot there, but
I got a
I would say
contrasting
that a hot
opinion.
dog is not a sandwich. You know,
The
but that's
the
not
bun
a
is
sandwich.
like one piece, so it's not a sandwich.
Right. Well, don't get me started. You got a
Honestly, a
meatball
hot
snub
dog-
on a bun that isn't cut necessarily, right? That's a sandwich.
Yeah, with that logic, you could even argue a hot dog is a cup. It's like one piece, it cups your
But also
wrist.
that would mean that like is a pita a sandwich? Because like a pita is one piece, and if I stuff the pita with sandwich fillings, I consider that a sandwich.
Also, that's completely flawed, as I am a trained sandwich artist. I know the
and by that he means he worked at Subway in university.
Subway, and that's one piece pretty much. And they
Yeah.
just flap it open now. It's
Yeah,
one piece. It's a big flap.
But they're just
And
doing that to
flap.
make like things more efficient at Subway for that reason.
Well, it makes for cleaner eating too, right?
Yeah,
Just
I see the advantages. It doesn't necessarily make it a sandwich though.
I would say that this is my final answer is that you can make a hot dog sandwich, and that is when you slice up a hot dog and put it on a sandwich bun. But so you can make a hot dog sandwich, but a hot dog isn't a sandwich. Huh? Right? Hot take. It's my hot take.
I unfortunately,
I'm on board with that. That's okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I unfortunately spent a couple of years working in the meat industry, and I am a fan of Brenner's Ballpark hot dogs. They had the franchise rights, and Brenner's is a Windsor-based company. They had the franchise right for the Tiger Stadium for baseball. And I unfortunately am going to disagree with you, Mark. Remy summed it up. It's a wiener put between two pieces of bread. It's a piece of meat stuck between two pieces of bread.
Bill,
Is it a good sandwich? No.
I'm gonna question your judgment, Bill. You once drove to Brooklyn just to get a hot dog and then drove home.
Yes, I did, because I always wanted to have a Coney Island hot dog. And so me and my buddy drove all the way over all night long to go to Coney Island to have a hot dog.
You mean a Coney
But
Island
it's not-
sandwich? A Coney
It's
Island
not two
sandwich?
pieces of bread, Bill. It's one piece of bread.
Just like a Subway sub.
No different
That's
than
not a
our-
sandwich. That's a sub.
it's in the eye of the beholder. Did you enjoy it or not?
Actually, I was totally disappointed with the Coney Island hot dog. But what a heck of a story. Calling my wife at 8 o'clock in the morning from the Brooklyn Bridge to tell her where I was.
Bill, was it a Nathan's Famous that you had?
Sorry, Brian, what was that?
It's a Nathan's Famous. It's the only Coney Island hot dog available, right?
Yeah,
So it's got to be good.
nah.
I'm actually I'm planning we did a hot dog day around this time, I think. Yeah, like sometime in the summer last year, we did like a hot dog day. I think it was Canada Day weekend. We did hot dogs at the shop, and I made like 4 different types of hot dog. And it was a shitty rainy day. And if I weren't doing hot dogs that day, I probably wouldn't have seen any customers, but it was busy. And so people want hot dogs. I'm planning another hot dog day soon. So keep your eyes peeled if you like those little sandwiches.
There's no disgrace in having a good hot dog from time to time.
No,
Okay?
no way.
You know, it's a good thing to do from time to time. Just don't make a diet of it.
Okay, thanks, Bebo, for stirring that pot. Mark,
Yeah.
curious question. Because someone would normally eventually ask this question. Apart from Sidewalk, who do you think is your favorite craft beer bar, restaurant location in KW?
Jane Bond.
Jane Bond. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Jane Bond is the best. Not only is it like family for me, like literally one of the owners in more recent years, Shane, is my brother-in-law, and Bernard, the other owner there, officiated my wedding. So it's literally family, and that is where I met my wife. We were working together, and there's no place in town that has a better vibe. I love like the stone walls. I love the people that work there. Great draft selection and amazing food. I had dinner from there tonight. It's for sure my favorite spot in all of KW.
That's easy
Best
and
hot
simple.
dogs in town there.
Best hot dogs in town.
Absolutely.
What's the last beer we're doing tonight?
It's an IPA from Third Moon, Den of Thieves. So it's just a delicious treat. It's 6.5%. There it is. Real fluffy, real like kind of tangerine-y. Yeah, and just tasty, and just a brewery that I wanted to include in the pack in case anyone hadn't had a chance to try anything they're making yet, because I think that they're making very great beer. So has anyone not had any beer from them? Do you have one there now? Yeah, great. Okay. Cool. And so I think that I really like the story about this brewery, which is that they opened their doors in the middle of a pandemic. So sort of like how we did with the beer shop. The difference is that they had been working on it for a while before the pandemic happened, but their brewer, Bebo, who's here with us now, had been brewing for years and years, doing homebrew stuff and sort of realizing his dream of opening up the shop under really tough, challenging circumstances, and then just like putting out super tasty beers that people are kind of freaking out over. I think is amazing.
I'm curious what you think the craft beer industry could be doing better.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of I would like for people to understand that breweries aren't just like rolling in money, It's really hard for breweries to exist and to be putting out good beer that they're proud of, and just like to be following that and like making something good. And the idea that breweries are just like money printing factories is something that I want people to know isn't the case, right? Because a lot of people like I think like question pricing on beers and stuff like that, like someone putting out like a $12 bottle of like beer, right? And then someone's like, oh, $12, that's ridiculous. And it's like, well, it isn't, because they put all this stuff into it, and the overhead is this, and they're just trying to like run a business, right? So I think the idea that like beer is supposed to be cheap and that breweries are making tons of money isn't true. And I don't know. I feel like people think that, and that kind of like just bugs me a little bit. So I would like for people to realize that maybe. I forget the question.
No, but you raised a very valid point. We've and many of the brewers that I've had on the show have brought that up. That and I even say that the romance around being a brewery owner is that you're rolling in money and you get to spend your day drinking beer. And the reality is you probably never worked as hard in your life and made so little money in the process.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I was just curious. I was just curious what you thought the industry as a whole could be doing a little bit better than what they're currently doing right now.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's tough. I think it's an interesting time, like with shops like mine opening up. It's kind of neat to watch that be happening. I think that you see certain breweries like really voicing opinions on social issues, which I think is important, and a lot of breweries should be doing. So that plays a factor too in sort of breweries that I choose to support too. It's like when I see breweries that are standing up for things they believe in and sort of amplifying maybe like marginalized or minority voices, I think that's super important. So I would like to see breweries continue to do that as well.
Troy has an interesting question for you. I was wondering if you have like a standard rotation, or do you have lots of breweries coming to you trying to get you to put them on your shelf?
Yeah, I do have breweries bring me beer to try quite often. Bill, I'm sure you have gotten your fair share of handouts as well. But I'm basically pulling from my favorite breweries every week. And there's certain breweries where it's like, I will get every beer that they put out, right? So Badlands up in Caledon, they're making like super tasty IPAs every week. Basically, he puts out 2 new IPAs, and every week I drive out to his farm and pick them up, right? So yeah, there are certain breweries that I kind of favor and get everything I can from them. And then a lot of the stuff that gets dropped off for me, it's very rare that I will like thoroughly enjoy it, So yeah.
Derek, I'm going to give you permission to ask that question yourself, okay?
Bill always mutes me when I try and talk, Mark. I was just wondering, like, you deal with a ton of breweries, and kind of what's your breakdown? How many of them ship to you versus how many do you have to drive out to get? And what was the other half of that? And then how many hours in a week do you spend driving out to breweries to get beer?
Okay, I'll start with the first part of the question. There are a few breweries that just don't deliver to me. So Badlands being one of them. Third Moon, I go out there and pick up every week too. And then there's certain breweries that will deliver, but I have to like wait a week or something, right? And where it's like, oh, I want to get it while, as close to when they release it as possible, because it's exciting to have that kind of like, you can get this like super fresh hype product rather than, wait 2 weeks for it. Most of my driving is to Toronto. So breweries, say like in London, like Beer Lab and Stormstade, they will ship to me because I don't really ever drive out there. The Hamilton spots, Merritt and Fairweather, I get a lot of beer from them, and they Fairweather is on like a very strict delivery schedule, so that works really well for me. I always know like when they're going to show up, and so yeah, it really does vary. And then yeah, there's a lot of places that, yeah, like I said, would deliver, but I drive out there anyways because I'm already driving to this other place. I may as well pick it up now so that I can bring it back to the shop on a Monday or Tuesday, and then that way when I'm writing the chalkboard to open on Wednesday, it's like I already have it, you know, rather than like if I could like physically see all the beers that are going to be in the shop this week, it's way easier for me to just like plan and write the list rather than like, okay, I got to leave a space here for this beer that I think is going to show up on Thursday. So I just like to like get it in my hands and get it in the fridge, and so that's why I do a lot of the driving. And granted, I do a bit more than I need to, but in my mind, it makes my life easier in a weird way. I don't know. I might rethink that. I don't know, but I do drive around at least one day a week. I probably go to about a dozen breweries a week to get stuff. So
I
what was the
assume
second part
Ottawa.
of the question?
I know you've driven out to Ottawa before too. I assume that's less frequent.
Yeah, in July. Yeah, so last July, you couldn't get like tooth and nail beer anywhere around here, and I love tooth and nail. So I sent them a message and I was like, hey, can I come buy some beer? I've opened up this shop and I would love to carry your beer. And they're like, yeah, come on down and get whatever you want. So I drove down there like the end of June last year. So the beer shop had been open for maybe 3 weeks. And I bought 23 cases of beer and just loaded them into the back of my Honda and came back. And I was so excited about it. And I still do get excited when their beer arrives, but they have since like started shipping beer to me. So that is really great. I think that if you can, you know, build relationships and stuff, and also it doesn't hurt that a lot of breweries in a pandemic are like, we would love to send you beer, right? It's like they would normally be serving so much out of their tap room and stuff, but the way things have been going, everyone's packaging beer and they want to sell it. So that's kind of been good for distribution from certain breweries. But yeah, started out with tons of driving. That I still do a lot of driving, but there are places that will deliver now.
Thanks. That was a good answer. You weren't that guy we heard about on the 401 a while ago, were you? With the 50 cases of beer in his car or something?
No, well,
Okay.
I never heard of that.
Okay. Well, you would have been arrested if it was you. So his car was running low, so the cops pulled him over.
Oh, that's funny. I feel like my car is running low a lot of the time.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks.
So Mark,
Yeah.
if you could travel back in time, what's the one little piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Focus on schoolwork, get a high-paying job, and just fucking chill. Just make tons of money and chill out. Move somewhere warm, you know? I don't know, I'd maybe tell myself like some teams to bet on or some stocks to buy. Basically just try and set myself up for an easy life of chilling. Yeah, that's what I tell myself. No sage words of wisdom. Just you know, get that money and relax.
Buy Bitcoin when it was $1. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you already answered the last question I was going to ask you, but I'm going to ask it again. What's the one thing you want everyone to take away from our chat tonight?
I don't know. I feel like I probably share. Well, I think I probably have a lot in common with the people who are here, which is that you want to enjoy drinking good beer. And so I know for me, like when when the pandemic first started, I'm sitting at home and I'm ordering beer from Bellwoods and Left Field, and you pay shipping, and you want to try all these beers, but you can't get them all. And so I think like I basically opened the shop that I wish existed in my town. So I mean, maybe I just want people to think like, yeah, that's sweet that we have that in Waterloo, you know?
It is kind of sweet that we have that in Waterloo.
Yeah.
EJ asked a question and I missed it. I probably should get back to it. He wonders what happens to beers that are off code, like they're past date, or does that ever happen?
Yeah. If there's, I don't like to have things sitting around for a long time. So like people who come to the shop have probably noticed that you come in one week and you see the list, and then you come in a week later and there's 25 new beers on the list and 25 from the last week that are gone. So for me, turnover and freshness is like of the utmost importance, as well as treatment of the beer, making sure everything is kept cold and handled properly. If there's something that isn't selling very well, I will sell it at cost to the guys that work at the music store next door. So anytime there's beer that is just like hanging out for longer than I want it to, it's like, yeah, here, man, this is the 250 special or whatever. I'll give those, basically give those beers away, either at cost, or I have a little section in the kitchen where it's staff beer pile. So, if I dent a can, or I get multiple samples from a place, or there's beer that's sitting around too long, then that's either my staff gets it or the guys at the music shop next door. But you're not getting it. So, yeah. Doesn't happen often, though.
Marc, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I'm going to end with what Rob Cat wrote it, and damn, it's the best little beer shop we could dream of.
Thank you.
And I think we're all in agreement to that. So Marc, thank you for being on the show tonight. Truly appreciate your gift of your time to us, talk to us about what you do. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was really fun, and a lot of friendly faces there, and I was really happy to do it. So thank you.
Good. And remind everybody, next week, Troy Birch, GLB, is back, and Mike Lackey will be joining him. And in his words, Bill, we're going to do a tag team against you.